So now we're going to move on to Nintendo's conference, which they didn't have an actual conference. They just did their Treehouse event, which they actually do every year. But this year they only did Treehouse, which is an event where Nintendo basically goes in depth on the games they're playing. And they just not the games they're playing, the games they're making. And it typically involves intensive gameplay, interviews, things like that. And they go in depth on a couple of games. So that's typically what Treehouse is. And this year turned out to be no different. Basically, at first, the first day was pretty light. It was just Zelda and Pokemon X and Y. And the second day, they had a lot more games. So just kind of start things off, Jess, I'd like to ask you, what did you think about Nintendo's Treehouse event and the fact that they didn't do any E3 conference this year?
Well, I liked the Treehouse event a lot, and to me, it definitely felt different than the other conferences that people had going, but it still accomplished a lot of the same things, I guess, as the Microsoft conference or the Sony conference. So I don't see that they really need to have both, so maybe that's why they decided to cut the actual conference part. But it also doesn't surprise me that much because Nintendo kind of, I don't know, I feel like they go against the grain a lot, but not just because that's how they happen to be doing things, but I think they just don't like being grouped with everyone else. They're really weird about it. So that's why they always do whatever they feel like. They're not really with the rest of the industry, which a lot of people talk about, not just as far as the way they do things, but that they're not really up to industry standards in a lot of ways, which I don't think is necessarily true, but, and maybe this will be a good way to segue into, one of the big games they revealed the first day of the Treehouse was the Zelda game. So I'm really excited for the Zelda game. I saw the Zelda game and I flipped out, because for me, I've never been a big Zelda fan. I mean, I've played the games and I like them. I do like them a lot. But it's not been one of my main series or anything. So when I saw that it was sort of more of this open world RPG style game, I was pretty excited because that's right up my alley, But I think a lot of people, or at least we heard from some people that we know, they're thinking that the Zelda is finally just getting up to industry standards. I mean, and they don't see what's so exciting about that. So I think that might be an example of where Nintendo sort of does things on their own timeline. Whereas everyone else is sort of always competing to have the best this or the most up-to-date that. Nintendo's kind of over here in their corner whatever. Which is nice in some ways because it makes Nintendo's definitely got very different game offerings than either of the big the big companies. So I'm not sure how I feel about that itself, but I guess to sum up all of that, I really enjoyed the Treehouse event. So.
Yeah, for me, for day one was really hard to watch because it was just two games, and they were both games that everyone already knew about, and pretty much everyone is already going to buy. I'm sure, I know one of the people on Big Culture's team was oh, this finally convinced me to get Zelda. And I'm you were one of 5 people that this was the the deciding factor. And I'm yeah. This is they got 10 extra people maybe, so I'll double it, 10 extra people maybe in the whole world. And yeah, I think it it is exciting, the open world thing, because it's just different. I think that's always it's always exciting. I can tell that they're obviously as far as we think of industry standards or more industry norms, open world's definitely becoming a the hot genre element of this next era of games I can see. At least that's the vibe I get, especially when I think of these other conferences the I don't even know if you know the name offhand or if you can pull it up / find it, but the game where it has those robotic animals and there's that girl, she's the lead protagonist.
Recore.
Not Recore. But that also has robotic animals.
Horizon?
Which one?
No. Was it Horizon?
Yeah, Horizon Dawn Zero.
Okay.
I remember because when I heard the title, I'm it sounds like you'd put into a word generator and you got Horizon Dawn Zero. But yeah, so open world's definitely becoming a more appealing genre, I think, in the mainstream market. So it's interesting to see Zelda take this on. And I guess I don't know. I'm appreciating it, and it just seems like a nice, interesting twist on the series. I think the series has always brought something unique to the industry, which I think a lot of Nintendo's IPs, they're just so different than everyone else's. That's why I always get Nintendo. because I'm not going to have Mario. That's not a reality for me. It's just not. And some people who didn't grow up on Nintendo don't feel that way. And I don't think it's my like nostalgia goggles either. They're generally good games. I don't know if there's actually ever really been a bad Mario game, unless you count Mario's Missing. But that was like, I don't think anyone really counts Mario's Missing. It was an educational game for the I think N64.
Right.
But yeah, so that's my long-winded thing of I was really disappointed in the first day, and I was hurt on a consumer level and on a journalistic level because I had to write about this conference, and I was like, really, Nintendo, this is pathetic. It was really pathetic, and I was so upset. But then day 2 came, and I was like, okay, it's all good.
They definitely had a lot.
Yeah, because it had a lot of it we knew about already, right? Like, you know, I think most of it, almost except for the new IP, which was like it's like Desert Animal Crossing kind of. I forgot the title of it.
Yeah,
but
I don't remember the title.
But it looks like Desert Animal Crossing. That was new, and that's exciting. But even just like, you know, like Yokai Watch 2, like I'm so getting Yokai Watch. Like I was, you know, like little stuff like that. For me, like day 1, Nintendo was at an F for the conference. Like, you did not do this project. We asked you to prepare something, and you said, I don't have it. And I'm like, I guess you're getting an F. It's basically what it was. But yeah, but they really stepped it up with day 2, and it came out to a C for me. I think you're totally right on. Yeah, Nintendo is just very much about I'm special. I'm by myself. Like they never even show up for E3 when they do have a conference. They have like a video feed. And they had, like, those puppets last year. They're just, like, on a whole nother thing. But, yeah, I mean, overall, I was decently, like, I was okay letting them pass the class, basically. So, I guess, I mean, you can talk more about Zelda if that's something you're interested in. But what other, I guess maybe in addition to Zelda, what other things stood out to you from Nintendo Treehouse or things that came up from the conference?
So, for me, Nintendo's always a really interesting one because I like Nintendo, and I grew up with some amount of Nintendo, but I definitely had more of a Xbox background once the Xbox came out. You know, so pre-Xbox, it's very much Nintendo-based to the extent that I had video games available to me, but then when the Xbox came out, I was all about that, and the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2. So I kind of moved over to like a Sony Xbox type of person when those were available to me. So I have some Nintendo loves, you know, like some things I grew up with that I really like, and I really like to see them crop up again. But I've never been a big Mario person. Although last year when we had our game, not last year, 2 years ago-ish? No, it was only a little over a year ago when we had our gaming conference. Yeah, I'm old. Our gaming conference, or not conference,
competition?
What's it called? Competition, thank you. In our suite. And I like did all that training on the old like Mario Party games and stuff like that. And games I'd never played before. I was like, these are great. So maybe I would have liked them a lot when I was a kid. So there's not a lot for me when it comes to like Mario that I get super excited about besides like Mario Kart or whatever, which is I feel one of my personal failings and I need to work on. For me, what I was most excited to see was the Zelda game because I really like Zelda, and I have played games of those since I was a kid, and the Pokemon games because that is like who I am as a person. I played all the Pokemon games. Pokemon was like the first game I ever loved, you know. So seeing a couple new things from Pokemon Sun and Moon was nice, although I kind of wanted to see a little bit more and less of like this boring sort of like let's walk through the beginning of the game footage, and I was like, I'm gonna do this later, just don't show me this.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. I'm like, I want to do this myself.
So annoying. I know. I was like, this is so boring. Like, the beginning of the game is never fun anyway. Why is this all you're showing me? And then I was excited to hear that Pokemon Go is coming out so soon. For me, that was huge because I'm excited for Pokemon Go. I'm just like, I feel like that's a really nerdy thing for me to be into at my age, but I'm really excited about it. But when it comes to just Pokemon Sun and Moon, one thing I did want to talk about a little bit, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, was everyone hating on Young Goose. What's with that?
Oh,
everyone
really?
on the internet hates Young Goose. I'm like, he's so cute.
Is it because he looks like Donald Trump?
He does not look like Donald Trump.
Yeah, he does.
Oh my
have you
God,
seen
have
you seen the image that Kotaku posted? It's because of his
little...
Look, it's actually really... It actually looks...
Oh, no.
It's because of his little thing on his head.
Don't do this to me. I'm never going to be able to have this Pokemon now.
What is his name?
Young Goose.
Google Young Goose Donald Trump. Like right now.
Okay, while I look this up, I'll mention I like Young Goose. Well, I think a lot of people don't like his little like like hungry face, but I'm like, that's so me.
Oh yeah,
I so
cute.
relate to these young
I saw
boomers.
positive things on Twitter about him because he eats and sleeps, and people connected with that. While you look up for the weird image that I asked you to look up,
So scared to see this.
it doesn't. It's not scary looking, but it's accurate. And I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, this is accurate. Are you going to pay for Pokemon Go Plus?
I haven't decided yet. It's hard for me to make those decisions because I'm broke.
I am so gonna like $35. I'm gonna have that like dorky looking bracelet. You can also put it in like your breast pocket. I think.
Yeah,
I feel like it'll fall out though. Yeah. So, but I'm so like ready to like. I'm gonna be so fit, just going out and catching Pokemon.
I know.
Yeah, I was actually like in a very basic way just digging on these accessories from Nintendo because like we have like the Pokemon Go Plus like watch thing, and then there's the developer for Yokai Watch 2 had the watch on from the game, and it's like huge and it looks so cool, and like I can't wear that. It doesn't go with anything I own or anything anyone owns, but it's so great. But yeah, so I'm definitely gonna get the Plus just because why not?
I see the hair.
Yeah,
okay.
It has like a little. It's a swoopy thing.
I'm never gonna be able to unsee this.
Other than that, I was very sad to be reminded that Mario Party will never be what I liked it as.
Yeah.
But for Pokemon Go, or not for Pokemon Go, for Sun and Moon, I am very excited about the arena, the 4 Battle Royale.
Oh, yes. Battle Royale. Yeah, that's going to be so great. I'm already thinking me, you, my brother, and Catherine.
Yep. I love like having like I feel like it's so essential to have like other gamers that are gonna like join in on these things, because like that I just need people to play with on these things. But I'm so excited about that feature. That was the only interesting thing for me from Sun and Moon because, yeah, it was very much like, oh, let's start in the town, and it was so obvious they started with Poplio because everyone hates Poplio. They're trying to turn it around. It's too late, Nintendo. Right. It's too late. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, like the conference was like their Treehouse event. It was all right. Like I think it's definitely worth swinging back. As much as I have a lot of salt towards the new Zelda game because it's been talked about for so long that I'm just like completely like not interested in anything except for release date. So I didn't even watch most of the. They played like 8 hours of it. I didn't watch like almost any of it. I'm like, I don't need to see it.
I only watched like an hour.
Yeah, I'm like,
like
only an hour.
I want to play the game. I don't want to see you play the game for 8 hours.
Yeah,
like, it's boring.
But I think it's really worth noting that like it was the most talked about thing on the internet from E3 by a lot. Yeah. Like by a lot. Yeah. Like they did statistics on it, and like the gap is like just huge. Like the second place thing, it's not even close.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like it just goes to show you that like. Nintendo will never die, I don't think. I know there's been some talk, like we've talked about it on Big Culture's chat and just, people concerned about the Wii U NX transition, like is this the end of Nintendo? Nintendo's never gonna die. And you're gonna have to come for like Nintendo's gonna be like in their basement with a shotgun, like they're not gonna get evicted from the house ever. Like they would just be sitting there and they're like, I'm not going outside, I'm not leaving this. I built this house myself. My kids were born here, and I'm going to be buried in the yard. That's Nintendo. And I feel like with Zelda, like, as much as I'm personally not, going to get all up in arms about a game that's been talked about for like 3 years, everyone else, they got it. They have like, it looks like an amazing game. It's finally supposed to come out around March with the NX. Nintendo, like, basically swooped in and was like, hey, we may be whack, but we're still like even with the small amount we have, it's so much better than everything else you guys showed.
Yeah, I feel like this was making me think of something else from somebody else's conference, and I don't remember what it was. Like when Nintendo, it sort of felt like it was this moment where I was like, okay, this is what you've been wanting us to talk about, and here we are to give you all these details and sort of like really, really hash out what all's going to be going on here. And the gameplay, the parts that I did watch was really exciting to see at first. And I think it's like right on the tip of my tongue. There was another part in the series that was not in the series, in the conferences that were like this, but it was like a fake out. It was BioWare? No, it was Bethesda. Okay, no, it was Bethesda when they did their Elder Scrolls, when they did the Skyrim HD thing. Mm-hmm. I think I lost my shit when they are like, oh, and we know there's something you've all been asking for, and we're here to let you know we've been working on it. Like, that's what they said. And I was like standing up and like freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Elder Scrolls 6. And it was just like the HD Skyrim. So I was like, that's not what we've all been asking for. Like, I'll take it, but that's not what we've all been asking for. Why would you do that? So at least with Nintendo, they sort of said, this is what you've all been asking for, and they actually gave us what we've been asking for. So props to them for following through on a simple statement. I was so salty about that still. But I'm curious. I was surprised to see a lot of the gameplay from Zelda, because so much of it is different than the classic Zelda. Like, me and Catherine were watching, and for those of you who don't know, Catherine is like the biggest Zelda fan of all time. When Link started to cut the grass, we were like, where are the rupees? Why are there no rupees? Like, this is weird. It's not okay. So I'm concerned that it's gone too far, so I'm interested to see what they keep and don't keep, because I love the new aesthetic. I love the open world aspect. I love the survival feel of it, where you have to sort of forage things. I'm all about that. I think it's because I'm like a type A person, and I like to organize and gather and survive. Like, that's what I love to do. But then if you lose too much of the Zelda aspect, it's like, why is this still a Zelda game? Why didn't you just make a new game that was open world? So I hope they didn't go too far with that. That's just me personally.